Aujourd'hui, je vais parler de why, as a huge video game nerd, I'm not getting a Switch 2 on day one when that comes out, okay, from Nintendo. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't either. Hey, Zenpak here. Another day, okay, yay, another game console's coming out. Well, more specifically on June 5th, so that's very soon. And it's Nintendo's follow-up on one of their biggest hits in, well, quite a while. Maybe a decade, maybe more than a decade? Maybe only a decade. Okay, still. We cannot deny that the Switch was a huge success for Nintendo, so much so that they didn't even bother changing the naming convention and just named the successor Switch 2. Now, let's be clear, if you saw the Switch and the Switch 2 side by side, yeah, you probably won't be able to tell much of a difference. Now, I'm not saying it's not that different, but visually, they definitely look like they came out of the same type of mode, at least. So then, if I enjoy the Switch, and I do have one, should I be excited for the Switch 2? I mean, maybe I am, but am I excited enough to be one of those early adopters, right? And that is the crux of today's rant. Whether it makes sense for someone like me to chase that new console feeling while it's still new, okay? But hey, I admit I might not represent the target audience for this console, so I'm willing to give some leeway to reasons to get it as well, right? Even if it doesn't apply to myself. So let's talk about it. But before that, of course, if you enjoyed rants from some random dude with no production skills, clearly, like, subscribe, share, comment, or whatever, okay? I'll be great regardless, because I just do these for funsies. Hit that bell icon. I've never figured out what that is, but I'm asking you guys to do that because that's what I see people on YouTube ask for. So that is me, a casual hypocrite, about a minor internet detail. Meh. So first and foremost, gaming consoles are about the games, okay? At least it's always been that way to me. So are there any release day games that I'm pretty psyched about? On day one, I think it's actually just a new Mario Kart. I mean, who doesn't like Mario Kart? Literally everyone I've ever met, whether they're real gamers or not, they like Mario Kart. But is this a system mover? I think possibly more for casual fans, for people with children. That's my opinion. As much as I enjoy Mario Kart games, they're all kind of the same, aren't they? I mean, I'm not a super fan enough of the franchise to remember what they actually did differently from game to game. And I'm probably not going to start now, okay? Of course, there are games on the horizon that I'm pretty sure will definitely come out at some point for this generation. Because I think, you can rely on Nintendo to, just pump out new games for their new console, especially for Zelda, Fire Emblem, maybe Metroid, right? Any of those three franchises, I think, would tempt me to go buy a Switch 2. But not Mario Kart by itself, right? Certainly not any of these, hey, if you play Switch 1 games on the Switch 2, it'll look a little bit better after you pay the upgrade cost. Yeah, no thank you. Okay, I'm not gonna go replay a 100-hour commitment type of game, such as the old Breath of the Wild Zelda games, just because it'll run like 15% smoother or whatever, okay? I won't be able to tell the difference with my crappy eyes anyway. Now, number two reason why I'm probably not going to get Switch 2 on day one is because I already have a bunch of consoles, right? Including, currently, a Switch for mobility. I got a Steam Deck as well that covers mobility and PC gaming, and frankly, Steam Deck also, it's better for availability of indie titles that are just PC only, right? And you know what? Street Fighter 6, by the way, is a launch title for Switch 2 that has some funky Switch 2 only modes that you can only do with essentially a mobile device, right? But can you imagine trying to get good at a fighting game on a device that's mostly, prized for its mobility? Okay, that's just silly because you can't be hardwired into an internet connection, so you'd be on Wi-Fi, which is terrible for competitive fighting games, right? I'm gonna skip that version because I already have it on a console where I can play with a wired connection, and the online gameplay isn't limited by a subscription service, okay, and that is on the Steam Deck, of course. And obviously, if I'm not talking about mobility stuff, I still have a PS4, okay, so 3 consoles I currently have for my 3 TVs at home. Even when I think about what console I would probably get next, I think the PS5 would be higher on the list over the Switch 2 because it has way more powerful computing power, okay? So what's the Switch 2's, like, you know, just raison d'etre, right? Is it better flexibility? Okay, I get it. Well, that is a selling point, but it is also $450, whereas a PS5 is at least $500, okay? So a Switch 2, I think it would be a better overall deal if you have a very set budget, right? I personally don't, and yet I still can't justify that purchase because I think it's just redundant for me, and it's like not so cheap that I could just write it off as a one-off easily either. And finally, my reason is personally, my reason is life stage, okay? It's just a different feel, okay? I do not need to be the first to get a console anymore, right? In fact, frankly, I've been trending in this direction for several generations already. I did not get a PlayStation 4 until years after its release. I did not get a Switch until like 2 years ago. Same with Steam Deck. That one I only waited like a year or two, and again, I'm thinking about a PS5, and it's 4 years into its life cycle, right? I think this is probably more of a question of community. I mean, people are social, want to play what their friends are playing. My friends are old fogies like me, and generally they have less time for video gaming, so I have less incentive to be first in line because, I don't know, I don't have a schoolyard full of other kids to chit-chat on this subject about, right? Come to think of it, I'm not even sure these days kids in school still care about console games at all, right? Aren't they just playing like mobile games on their phones because they tend to be free to play at least? Honestly, I'd be quite fascinated to see what the average console gamer's age is these days. I'll bet it's older than what people would associate with video games, okay? Anyway, you get the point. So if I didn't have a single console until 2025, sure, I think Switch 2 would be a great idea. Like, it's an all-in-one solution, being convertible between portable and home. But because I'm already steep in the culture with a ton of consoles, it doesn't fill any specific empty void that I can think of, okay? So, in conclusion, is Switch 2 worth buying as an early adopter? Obviously not for me, because I've already got consoles that are more powerful or just as mobile, so it's redundant, right? Unless there's killer first-party exclusives, which for me, at the moment, again, it doesn't have. So, I'm not saying I won't get a Switch 2 at some point. I probably will, knowing myself. It'll probably be around mid-cycle of its lifetime, or if I find some amazing deal on it. But for the rest of you, I don't know, if you're a casual gamer or just getting into the scene, or have a budget for just one console, sure, it might make much more sense. So, do you agree, or am I off my rockers? Please feel free to yell at me, because it's the internet down below. Till then, cheers, à la prochaine.